Good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are uplifting positive stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, and happy Valentine's Day. If you're listening to this on Valentine's Day or around it, it's releasing a little bit before.
But we got some really sweet stories today. It's going to be all about love stories, and that isn't just romantic. We got some friendship love stories in here as well. So just a lot of feel-good stories. I thought that'd be kind of fun for the Valentine's Day theme.
It also marks our 9-year anniversary.
It does.
Of dating.
Yeah, we went on our first date on Valentine's Day. So it is crazy that it's already been 9 years. It's like, wow, time. Where is time gone? So we're just going to dive right in. Our first one here is, it's really sweet. Here we go. I'm really excited. This one comes from the subreddit True Off My Chest, and it is titled, I broke into my mother-in-law's house today. Here we go. It doesn't sound like it's going to be positive, does it?
You do what you got to do sometimes. Well, I could think of 20 different reasons why that you could need to do that. You know?
Yeah, right.
There's also probably a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be doing that are bad.
I love this story, though.
But this is the podcast where you know that it's
positive.
going to be a positive of some kind.
Here we go. Valentine's Day has always been special to my wife and her family. So the other day, when I asked my wife what she wanted for Valentine's Day, she burst out into tears. This was obviously not the response I wanted, and I asked her what was wrong. Her dad died last summer. Obviously, I already knew this, but she goes on to tell me how he would always get her mom roses, Hershey Kisses, and Hostess Ho-Hos, and she's crying because he can't do that this year, and her mom will be alone. I have to work today, but I took a detour to mother-in-law's with roses, Hershey Kisses, and Ho-Hos, knowing mother-in-law wasn't going to be home. I used the hidden key and got in, arranged everything, and then hightailed it to work. Mother-in-law won't be back home for another few hours, and I'm just giddy thinking about her reaction. I don't plan on telling either of them, so I just wanted to put this here. Update. So my mother-in-law instantly knew it was me. She thought it was either me or my wife, and she texted wife first, and they put 2 and 2 together. She texted me and said, Duke, her dog, told me that you stopped by. So I told her, I don't know why he said that. He's a liar. And she thanked me for the gifts, even though I thoroughly denied the accusations that the dog made. I mean, I thought we were pals, but he's out here telling secrets, LOL. My wife says she has a special gift for me when I come home from work tonight, and tomorrow I'm taking her to her favorite steak place. So my big secret was a secret for all of 1 hour. Yeah.
I don't really feel like it's accurate to say they broke in. They had a key, you know?
Yeah, well, they found the hidden key.
Still.
Yeah.
Oh, they found the hidden key.
Yeah. But yeah, what a sweet story.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's super nice and thoughtful.
Yeah, my heart was just like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And I found that story. So we're just going to keep rolling through these. I got a bunch of them. Here we go. Like I said, this one is actually going to be about friendship love, and it's very, very cool. This one comes from the subreddit Self, and it is titled, My Friend Group Just Had the Most Wholesome Interaction Ever. My girlfriend has social anxiety and often walks away from stuff haunted by that thing she said no one else remembers. I know this happens.
Can relate.
Yeah, can relate. I know this happens to a lot of people, but it strikes her really bad. She has to take anxiety meds to go to sleep after hanging out with people. So we went to a friend's to watch the thing, and after she got home, she panic wrote a 3-paragraph message to us apologizing for being mean. Which, by the way, she's never mean. She's one of the kindest people that I know. I told her so, and then all of our friends also told her so. Then someone else confessed to feeling the same way, and we got to tell her how great she is too. We all just reassured each other that we were valued, and now everyone gets to go to bed feeling securely loved. And man, I know this is a small thing, but I've never been around people who could just communicate like adults before. In my family, you don't ever apologize for how you treat people, and heaven forbid you admit to your vulnerabilities. If they get their feelings hurt, they're too sensitive. If they think you did something wrong, you argue your case to the ends of the earth. It wasn't until I met this friend group that I realized how alienated I was from other people. My girlfriend showed me that I would rather be kind than someone who tells it like it is, and my life is so much better for it. I'm just so glad that I've grown enough as a person that these are the kind of people that I get to have in my life now. Thanks for reading my sappy diatribe. Yeah.
I feel like we can relate to that pretty strongly with the
We
whole.
can.
Well, also our friends are great as well, and like we've had.
We do have really great friends. I remember early in our relationship, I was working at Olive Garden at the time, and Wyatt was hanging out with her friends, and Wyatt was like, put your phone on speaker when you're driving or whatever. And I was like, okay. And I knew he was hanging out with them, and all of a sudden I hear other voices in the background be like, hi, Adrianna, hi. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we're doing honesty hour, and we're going around and giving compliments to people in the room or whatever, so we're going to include you in that. And I had a rough night at work. I was serving that night, and it was a Saturday night, and it was super busy, and yeah, I got my butt handed to me. It was terrible.
None of us knew that yet.
They didn't know that. And they proceeded, as I was driving home from work, to like say all these nice things over the phone. And I was just like teary eyed in the car, like, oh my gosh. And it was just the sweetest thing ever. And yeah, I just thought it was so awesome. And
they knew it'd been long enough. Like we'd been dating for over 2 years at that point. They had informed thoughts. It wasn't just, oh, seems nice. She seems nice.
No, it was incredibly sweet. And I just had never like experienced that before, like that vulnerability with the friendship and stuff. And I was just so surprised by it in a really positive way. And yeah, I just remember like I ended up telling my mom about what happened because it was like so moving and stuff. And she was like, wow, I've never heard of a friend group that like just chooses to spend their Saturday night doing that. That's incredible. And I'm like, I know, they're such sweet people. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just really moved me. And this seems like a very similar thing here that kind of happened. And so that kind of brought back that memory, that positive memory for me. But yeah, just being open and vulnerable with your friends, it can really deepen that relationship. And yeah, it's maybe not romantic love, of course, but it's a different kind of love that I think you can really experience in a friendship that I think some friendships never get to because people don't open up enough. And yeah, it's just really cool.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to also be reassuring to your friends sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Like, obviously in this situation, they apologized that they were being awkward, even though they weren't. But you can still like, just without anything necessarily prompting, like reassure them, like, hey, I like hanging out with you guys. Like, you guys are awesome. You know, love you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Unprompted. I know, like my friends and I always say love you as we're like leaving and stuff, and it's just stuff like that. It's just very sweet, and it can really deepen that friendship. So I thought that was a really sweet story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On to the next one here. Comes from the subreddit Wholesome Stories, and it is titled, I didn't think anyone would tell me that again. Here we go. Our first date was the most awkward date I've ever been on. In conversation, he would not look at me, and he was fidgety. It was clear that he had extreme anxiety. He's been single for 8 years, first few by choice, but since then, he's just always been too nervous to make any moves. An early Monday coffee date after we had talked a few days on Hinge, and he seemed really cool. We're in similar fields, have an affinity for coffee and baklava, and enjoy hiking. So all of those were exciting points for conversation, but the banter didn't translate well in person. The second date was slightly less awkward, but it was still painful for him to keep eye contact and have a thorough conversation as we walked around downtown. Exploring the downtown scene is always fun, so I just kept the conversation rolling as best I could and enjoyed the walk for what it was. We got dinner at a small bar off the main square, ate some Creole-inspired dishes, and headed back to our cars. I asked if he wanted me to drive him to his car, and he said sure. We sat in my car for 30 minutes looking at pictures of wildflowers that he had taken from previous hikes and talked a bit about the plants I was growing. He managed to perk up a bit, and the conversation easily rolled from there. By the third date, I was sure it was going to be our last. He was cute, but with my large, gregarious personality, I know I can be a lot for others, especially those with anxiety. I knew I was looking for somebody who wanted to build a relationship with me, be honest, and tell me their unfiltered thoughts. I was sure he didn't fit what I was looking for. That was an unfair character assessment on my part because our third date, he managed to really open up about his past and the anxiety around me lifted. That night, he messaged me asking, "Where is this really going?" which made me smile. I'm usually the one texting those messages, looking for clarity after dates. I told him that I really enjoyed hanging out that day, and I'd like to keep going on dates, but that was all I could say. 1 month later, we hang out every other day, we cook together, go to breweries, and trivia nights together. Last night, we got in a deep philosophical debate about the future of society and our respective roles in shaping it. We were drunk, standing next to the fire in my backyard, and just held hands with our backs to the flames to keep us warm.
The perfect time to have deep philosophical conversation with the
Right?
future when you're drunk outside.
He stayed the night, and laying in bed, I said, I love you. He took a deep, heavy breath, and I asked, what was that about? I looked up with my head still on his chest, and he was crying, saying, I didn't think anyone would tell me that again. I had to stop myself from crying too and hugged his chest as tight as I could. I'm really, really happy that I kept coming back. He told me that I'm the one he's been looking for so long, and I know I'm the lucky one, though.
Again, is there a story of heartbreak in there that I
It
missed?
didn't mention that, but I'm sure that could be the case. It sure sounds like it. It does say that he had been single for 8 years, first few by choice. I'm guessing that must have been probably after a bad relationship based on that response at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great example that sometimes we do have really hard heartbreak moments, and it can feel like I don't want to ever go through that again. And I don't want to put myself in a position where someone could break my heart again. But by keep trying, and sometimes it does require to take some time for yourself and be like, I need to heal myself before I'm ready to do that again. But having that hope that there is a person out there for everybody, and you just have to find that person. And in this situation, possibly that is the person. It sounds very, very wholesome. So
Yeah. Though we don't know if it was a bad relationship before. Maybe it was like a death or something, or a sudden end of the relationship. Whatever it was, is something to cause enough heartbreak to take a lengthy multi-year pause from dating, being a little nervous about getting back into the scene and not really believing that I'd be able to hear that again,
Yeah. So I thought it was a really sweet story, though. Like, aw.
And every relationship's different. Sometimes it takes time. You got to open up a bit more. Sometimes there's just fire right away. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we hit it off pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I mean, I was awkward as heck.
I mean,
Like,
so was I.
I retracted a little bit when you grabbed my hand to hold it on her day, because I was like, whoa, I was caught off guard. Like, oh, she's holding my hand. Oh my gosh.
It was cute.
You're like, did I scare? Oh no, I scared him off. And I'm like, oh God, she likes me. What? What is that feeling?
It was really cute. That is true. Aw. All right, on to our next story. This next story comes from the subreddit Wholesome Stories once again, and this one is titled Feeling Truly Seen by My Husband. Here we go. Hi, Reddit. I'm in a silly, goofy mood as my 23 female husband, 25 male, and I are quickly approaching 8 years together. I just wanted to share a pretty wholesome moment we had together in the middle.
They had to be high school sweethearts then.
I just wanted to share a pretty wholesome moment we had together in the middle of a Bob Evans right before closing time when we first moved in together in 2018. I'll just say that I have issues with food. I'm a texture taster, and due to some trauma, sometimes it's very hard for me to eat. I often get one thing from each restaurant, seldom do I ever change it up. My husband, at the time fiance, caught on to this early on and would ask questions about why I don't eat certain things despite liking the flavor. Pickles, some melons, some other vegetables, and I explained to him that I have texture issues. Now, anytime I say, I like the taste, he finishes it with, just don't like the texture. Gotcha. He's very sweet. Anyway, we're in the middle of a Bob Evans right near closing time because neither of us have eaten, and both of us were fresh off of work at the nursing home. The waitress offers me apple butter, which I love. I get the apple butter and I start eating my toast. My husband looks at me very confused and really worried and says, Did you not like your food? Is it not made right? I was confused as to why he'd asked that, so I questioned why, and he said, Because you always eat your eggs first, then your bacon, then your hash browns, and then your toast. You've never done anything else. When I tell you, I almost cried. I felt so seen, like someone truly, truly knew me for the first time in my life. Now he knows all my orders and exactly how I like them and the order in which I eat everything. I love this man to death, and I hope we are together in the next life as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that might be easier than you think. You're around somebody enough, you just subtly pick up these
on
things,
stuff. Well, I think in good relationships, that's definitely the case.
In good relationships, and so to have that order disrupted, like,
is everything okay? Did you not like your eggs? I know. It's super sweet. And I picked this story just because I thought it was a really interesting example of showing that when you're right with the right person, our weird quirks are not weird anymore. Like in the terms of the other person will learn to, just be cool with those quirks, and sometimes even be like, okay, you don't like certain textures, I will help you find foods that don't have that texture, or I will be supportive in that sense, and it should be that way in a healthy relationship. Like a perfect example of this, I don't have the story here, but I've seen it a lot through like Facebook and Instagram stuff, is someone mentioned that their mom had been in a toxic relationship where a guy used to make her feel stupid for collecting mugs, and she liked to collect mugs from all the places they traveled and stuff, and he always made her feel dumb about it and like, oh, it just takes up so much space, like why would you do that, that's such a weird thing. And the relationship ended up ending, and the next person that this OP's mom ended up with was so supportive of her having these mugs that he actually surprised her by building like custom shelves to store her mugs and display them. And the OP was just pointing out how stark of a difference that is in the first relationship versus the second, where the first one, he was like, that's a weird thing that you have and I'm not supportive and I think it's weird. You shouldn't be like that. Versus the second one supported and was like, this is who you are. This is that's you. And I love all that there is about you. So I'll be supportive, or at the very least, not make you feel bad about it. If it's not hurting anything and it's just, you like collecting mugs, it brings you joy, then yeah. And it's the same thing with pickiness in food. If it's going to make them feel like they're going to throw up or something, or make them not want to eat those food, why would they make you feel stupid about that,
Yeah.
And so this is a perfect example of a healthy relationship, and like a really wholesome relationship where the husband is supportive enough that he pays attention to what she likes and doesn't like, and is very concerned if she's like not liking something that she's eating and doesn't seem like she's enjoying it, and actually cares. And so I just thought that
or
was
there's
really...
a specific order that she has to eat the
right.
foods, which, to be fair, I have that too sometimes.
I do too.
There's some restaurants, like Bridgman's, for example, I have to have
certain order.
I eat the eggs and then the hash browns and then the biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
Routine.
It's really mainly there.
Right.
It's just mainly that place. I don't know why.
Exactly. So, and we all have our things that we were like, we don't openly share with other people. Like, I have this weird thing where I like this, or I don't know, or I'm sensitive or picky about these things. We all have different things and stuff. And so
you also might not realize it's weird until you meet somebody that doesn't do those things.
Right. And you're like, oh, this isn't the norm. And so not giving up on that idea that you can find somebody that isn't going to make you feel weird about your things things that make you unique, and instead will be supportive, or at the very least not make you feel bad about them or feel like you're weird.
Right. And you shouldn't, because why?
Exactly.
Why would you make someone feel bad about that?
Exactly. But yeah, the best kind of love is when you feel seen.
It's like you're like a kid and you're like screaming and throwing the food in anger. Like it's
a little different.
That's different.
Yeah. But
or like, what was it? I think you told me the story like when you're, obviously talking about picky kids and stuff, but I know even tell a story like your brother or something when he was younger. Where it's like, I don't want to eat coleslaw. I don't want to eat coleslaw. It doesn't. I don't want to. And I'm like, no, you have to try. Don't be picky. And then they say, fine, got himself to eat it, and then he threw up right afterwards. I'm like, okay, maybe we shouldn't eat
like,
it.
We're never gonna force him to try coleslaw ever again. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Whoops. So didn't know that was a thing. That he didn't like mayo. Found that out the hard way.
Yeah,
but
there definitely is a pickiness, and it's like, I know when we first met and stuff, and like in early relationship, you admitted that like you were maybe a little more picky and a little less adventurous with foods, and gradually got a little bit more adventurous. You still have your tried and true staples to go back to, and you developed a list of like, okay, not these kinds of foods because that just has weird reactions or something, or
exactly
X, Y, or Z. We all have those, but like just gradually getting more and more adventurous.
Right. And also being seen can also transcend like from the things that you are picky about and stuff, but also the things you're interested in terms of like suggesting movies that you think that the person's gonna like based on things that that they've liked in the past, and really making an effort to do those things. And Valentine's Day, if you were with somebody, is a great way to show that you see them and that you recognize the things that they care about or that they like and stuff, and maybe curate a date that has a lot of elements that they're going to like based on things you've seen in the past that they've enjoyed and stuff like that. It's a good example of that. And we've talked about that in other episodes, like giving gifts. That episode, we talked about really paying attention to people and what they seem to care about and who they are, and curating things for that person that fit them, that show that you see them. But this was just a really cool way of showing that in a story. So, all right, next story. This one's really Very heartwarming. Here we go. It comes from Best of Redditor Updates. It was originally posted on Off My Chest. It is titled, OP's Girlfriend Meets His Wife, Happiness Ensues. Here we go. I, 32 male, am a widow. My wife passed away from pancreatic cancer 5 years ago. She was forced to leave behind our 2 kids, R, 10 male, and H, 7 male. My wife was the absolute light of my life. We were high school sweethearts, went to the same college, and got married after graduation. We were inseparable. Every day I fell more in love with her. It was like my heart was living outside of my body. When she passed, the amount of pain I was in was indescribable. I prayed to go to sleep and not wake up just so I could see her one last time. I contemplated meeting her, but every time I was ready, my kids would look at me. They had her face, her personality, her DNA, and I couldn't leave them. They were all I had left of her. It took years before I was able to function normally again. I even quit my job and lived off of savings and her life insurance for about a year. I was half the dad I used to be and only a fraction of my former self. 2 years after her passing, I decided enough was enough and I kicked myself into gear. I found a job in a different city, closer to my parents. I packed my kids up and I moved. Life was hard, but I kept chugging along and eventually I found some joy. A year after moving, I took a business trip to New York where I met my current girlfriend, Elle. While I acknowledged there was chemistry, I told her I was already married and she understood. However, a few months later, I had to go back to New York where we met up again. I let my guard down for the first time around her. Before I knew it, she was putting in a transfer for my home branch and moving to my city. I fell in love with her and I asked her out a year ago next month. My kids adore her, and though she reminded them she will never take their mom's place, they lovingly call her Mama L. Today was the anniversary of my wife's passing, an extremely hard day for all of us. This morning I walked into the living room to find Elle and the kids waiting for me. The kids were dressed in their church clothes with goofy smiles on their faces and bouquets in hand. Apparently, Elle came up with the idea of a picnic at my wife's grave, an idea that the boys loved as they enjoy going to see their mom. While I was sleeping, they prepared food and flowers, then insisted on wearing their best clothes. I'll admit that I cried at the sight of them. I don't know how I got this lucky twice in a row. I wanted my wife to meet this amazing woman, so I asked Elle to come along, and she did. The day that I dread every year turned out to be a humbling reminder of the reason why I stayed on this planet. To my lovely wife, you can never be replaced, but she is good to me and she takes care of our kids like you would. Thank you for sending her to me. And then there was an update. Hi everyone. First off, I want to thank you all for the nice messages and replies. I can't thank you all enough. On to the update. I already had a profound appreciation for my girlfriend before I made that post, but the comments gave me an entirely new perspective. The night after I made that post, I took my girlfriend out to dinner and I can't explain it, but the light I was viewing her in was different. Everything she did that night gave me butterflies. She was showing me pictures that she took at the aquarium with my oldest, and I couldn't stop staring at her. In that moment, I came to the conclusion that I was going to propose a lot sooner than I expected. A few days later, I went ring shopping with her mom, who was very excited, and we found the perfect ring. I then made a reservation at her favorite restaurant for last Friday and set the big day in motion. Long story short, I'm getting married again. As some of you said, promotions can wait, though after looking at her wedding dress, I may need a promotion to financially recover. Haha. I'm excited to start this journey with her and my amazing kids. As I've said before, I am so lucky. I hope you all find your own Lila, and thank you again. Yeah.
That's a nice story.
Isn't that sweet?
Especially because we've heard stories out there of, new people coming into relationships where there had been a passed away parent of kids and stuff. And so it's nice to actually hear someone understanding the complexity of the situation, being respectful to it.
I mean, suggesting to do a picnic at the gravesite, that's incredible. That's super, super sweet. And that the kids, were always excited to go visit their mom. So having that as a way to bond with them as well and, honor the past parent, I thought that was really, really cool. Yeah.
The start of the story reminded me of the premise of the TV show on Apple TV, Shrinking.
Yeah, it kind of does.
So very much different details and circumstances and stuff, and it's also a TV show.
Yeah, right. But still, yeah. Overall, just a really sweet story. And like we were kind of talking about in the last story, it's an example that even after something very devastating like that, if you are able to get to a place where you're ready for that kind of thing, don't discount that if you are wanting to find love again, that you can, because you can, it is possible. And there are a lot of examples out there of people that have been able to heal enough, and it'll never be the same, but heal enough that they're able to find love again after something like that happens. So even though it feels like it's really hard in that time to imagine something like that happening ever again. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool.
And also just like having reasons to live and stuff, because it's like you're just really struggling with that.
Yeah, well, when you're that entwined with your spouse, especially, I mean, I think they said they were like college sweethearts.
They did.
Stuff,
well, I thought that they're high school sweethearts.
Oh yeah,
high school sweethearts went into college.
And high school sweethearts went to the same college and got married after graduation. Like, your lives are so intertwined. Of course, having kids together. They're very likely with each other's first loves too. And so, trying to move past that, you become so intertwined. I can't even fathom losing that. So yeah, it would be really, really hard. But he found love again, and like he said, I can't even believe that I got this lucky twice. Yeah, and the kids are supportive of it, and it seems like it's a good situation going on right now. Yeah, super, super cool. And our news article kind of goes with this last story. This one comes from cbsnews.com, and it is titled, Charlotte Florist Gives Flowers to 800 Widows on Valentine's Day. We've had a story kind of like this about a group that was getting together and putting out roses for people and flowers for people to find that were experiencing grief. But this one's kind of really, really cool in its own way. So this one, Ashley Manning, owner of Pretty Things by A.E. Manning, goes around on Valentine's Day and gives a bunch of flowers that she puts together for local widows and their or people without partners. And so, it's called the Valentine's Day Widow Outreach Project. It's a nonprofit that she began. The community are the ones that provide the names and addresses of said widows or people without partners that are going to be struggling on Valentine's Day. She's raised $50,000 and amassed more than 1,000 volunteers to help her out, and is assembling these bouquets and getting them delivered. Wow. Yeah, it was really, really sweet. To quote the article, Manning, a mother of 4, told CBS Money Watch, I made an arrangement for my son's preschool teacher, and she was taken aback by it. It meant a lot to her, and that was where it started 3 years ago. That was the first bouquet she gave out, and she could tell it made a difference for that preschool teacher, and so she decided to make it a bigger thing. I guess when she first started, it sounds like it was really hard, and she overestimated her abilities to assemble them all and stuff. So now it's turned into a bigger project, and she's gotten stuff lined up to actually do it the way she needs to. Yeah, it's rare that the first one is the one that they went perfectly, and there's no issues. Like, you haven't done it before, so yeah, exactly. Well, they kept going with it. Yeah. And it sounds like they're finding some great success with it. How many volunteers did they say it was? 1,000 volunteers. See, that's almost more impressive than raising $50,000. Right. You know, how do you find 1,000 people to give up their time? That is crazy. And to volunteer, that's impressive. That's really awesome. And one more quote from Manning. She says, when we see the smiles on people's faces, it's encouraging to know there are a lot of good people in this world, and it takes one movement to create a ripple effect. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And then she also mentions how Valentine's Day obviously is usually celebrated with a loved one, but when you meet widows, they would give anything to celebrate with their loved ones. We have flipped the script and turned it into a holiday that is not just for people who are married or have a partner to celebrate with. So, yeah, Valentine's Day doesn't have to be, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Valentine's is a stupid holiday. It's all about commercialism and stuff like that. But it can also just be a good time of year to reflect on the love in your life, not even romantically. It can be platonically. It can be family. It can be friends. It can be anything. And just an excuse to show that love to other people, and an excuse to reach out to people. And yeah, it's also whatever you make it. Yeah, it's evolved to be many things. Even our church has a Galentine's Day event for just getting the women of the church out that wants to go get together and stuff. Yeah, and have friendships. Yeah, exactly. I like that they're making sure that people that are widowed that are maybe struggling can still experience a little joy by feeling like, oh, someone thought of me and got me a bouquet. How sweet. And that goes along with the very first story too, where the guy got the mother-in-law the Hershey's and ho-hos and flowers and stuff to make sure that they don't feel so alone when they're experiencing heartbreak. So to quote Vision from WandaVision, for what is grief if not love persevering? It's true. Exactly. It's a beautiful 100%. Line from that show. That was a really good line from that show. It's a very good show. If you are looking for a good recommendation, WandaVision was really good. It's on Disney Plus. But yeah. There is grief in it. There is, but it's handled You might have to watch a lot of movies before that show to fully get it. That's fair. But anyways. Just watch a summary video. You'll be fine. Exactly. But yeah, happy Valentine's Day to everybody that is listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And if you have any positive stories that you would like to share, we would love to hear them. Please send them to us at upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com, or you can share them on our Reddit page.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're enjoying the show, please rate it, review it, and just share it around with people.
Thanks so much for listening, and have a great rest of your week, everybody.
And stay positive.